Welcome everyone to this podcast today with Oximio, a global supply chain solutions provider for clinical trials. In this episode, we're taking you behind the scenes of one of the most critical and often chaotic phases of any clinical trial. We are talking about logistics. From project initiation to the first shipment of supplies, getting the right logistics in place is essential. Early stage operations, especially in multi-country studies, are complex and fast moving. If logistics aren't planned from the outset, even the best design trial can face costly delays. Hello, I'm Alexander Love, Senior Editor from Global Data. In today's episode, I'm joined by Oximio's team of experts. We have Zaida Khan, who is Chief Commercial Officer, Irina Turkovic, who is Director of Project Management, and we also have Daria Bondarenko, who is Senior Import-Export Specialist. Together, we will explore the biggest challenges sponsors face during the early phases of clinical trial planning, from last-minute requests to often overlooked financial and regulatory hurdles, and crucially, planning for the unexpected. We'll also highlight the power of early engagement and collaboration with partners to ensure a smooth journey. Listen as we showcase how smart project management, adaptability, and an agile approach can turn these early phase complexities into a clear and confident path forward for your clinical trial. So Zaida, can I turn to you? As I just highlighted, the startup phase can be pretty chaotic, as you know. From your perspective, what would you say is the single most important step a sponsor can take to ensure a smooth project initiation?
Thank you, Alex, and excited to be here to talk about this subject. It really is all about engaging with sponsors and clients earlier the better. That means getting a clear understanding of requirements from the initial onset of any project. We need to be on the same page. We need to know exactly what the clients are looking for, what their requirements are, and also their expectations, long before the first shipment, as you say, even comes into our depot or even out of our depot, or even getting to site. Without that, you're just asking for problems and issues down the line. The better the communication from the very onset, the smoother the whole process of the project initiation and the journey of that project will be. One of the biggest challenges for startups is just the sheer number of unknowns and how to navigate that complex, highly regulated world of clinical logistics for the very first time. Many startup organizations really underestimate the key elements that are required for early phase, I suppose, issues and tasks that need to be done, like the regulatory planning, the financial implications of shipping their product across borders. An example of this is how we've recently seen that external factors also have an impact on clinical trial logistics. The Trump administration, for example, has had a knock-on effect on clinical trials, which we are currently undergoing and actually project managing within Oximio. It's true to say that a startup might face these unexpected, I suppose, issues and factors that will come into and have an impact on their shipment. The other element of this is like it also could have an impact on their funding, and that's why it's better to make sure that when you do have a strong management team around you, you are able to identify the risk earlier on and build up contingency plan to ensure that the trial has the funding that it needs to support any unexpected events. So the key is really to be adaptable, to be agile, and also then to have cost-effective solutions that can scale up and down as a project grows. And I think in the up and coming podcast that we're here, Irina and Daria will actually provide a little bit more detail in terms of what activities and processes that we actually manage to mitigate the risks on behalf of the clients. So I think that hopefully will give you a good overview that, what we're trying to do is stay on top of any sort of shifting activities or requirements that might happen to avoid any delays in any, whether it be document release that might affect not only one country, but even for the whole study.
Yeah, and you mentioned the sheer number of unknowns. How can a project management team help a startup navigate unforeseen risks? Can you give any examples of an unforeseen challenge you've had to deal with and how you navigated through it?
The aspect here is that there is no crystal ball. We don't start off with a crystal ball at the beginning of a project, but what we do have is our experience and our industry and expertise and our knowledge that comes into play. Something that I think we have in abundance at Oximio. When it comes to risk mitigation, whether it's across regulatory, finance, and also timelines, that's also a core part of what we do to actually manage any risk that we can foresee or may foresee or actually overcome. I think it's probably, a very big part of Irina's team under the commercial office, under my guidance, but I'll let Irina pick this up in more detail so she can give you a bit more of a transparent picture here. Irina?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Zaida. Yes, true. Our primary focus is to create a transparent picture of all the unknowns at the every early stages. There can be a last-minute protocol or site changes. Sponsor often can add new countries, change products, dosing schedules, or switch sites mid-study. Logistics has to pivot fast and under regulatory constraints. Project managers must stay flexible and maintain stronger vendor relationship to adapt quickly. Also, in today's world, we face a very unstable geopolitical situation where things can change overnight. And what's most complicated is that you can't predict where and how they will change. It may happen that the next day, all previously established roads are no longer available, and you need to have an immediate backup plan. We have lots of experience with such cases at our depot. Thanks to our business continuity and backup plans, we are always prepared. Our team knows what to do in advance and quickly put those plans into action to keep operations running smoothly while meeting all rules and standards. This kind of adaptability and agility is one of our main strengths. We are key drivers in solving complexities and ensuring trials continue without interruption, which is essential for startups where every day of delay can mean significant financial losses and jeopardize a trial.
Absolutely. Expect the unexpected, as they say. Efficient planning in the early phase can lead to cost optimization. A more structured approach allows for better forecasting of activities and reduces unexpected delays and expenses. How can a startup on a strict budget manage and forecast costs effectively when there are so many potential variables? And what would your advice be here, Irina?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Budget pressure are very real for startups. Smart project and budget management is essential to help optimize cost and ensure sponsors don't face any unexpected expenses. Planning budget often underestimate actual logistics cost. For example, emergency shipments, relabeling, additional storage, and etc. Project managers are expected to deliver results with a scope while maintaining quality and timelines, whatever happens. And it's not just about controlling costs, but about anticipating them. The key is early and realistic planning, paired with ongoing monitoring and stakeholder transparency. At Oximio, we start by building the budget alongside with the logistics strategy, mapping out country-specific requirements, temperature controls, storage durations, customs fees, and potential risks. In clinical trials, nothing is generic. Every detail is grounded in the protocol demand. Then, throughout the project, we track actual cost versus projections, flagging any deviations at the early stages. If there is a change, like an added country or urgent shipment, we don't wait until invoicing. We immediately assess impact, inform our customers, and propose possible alternatives. At the end of the day, good budget management is a partnership, ensuring sponsors feel in control even during the changes.
Thank you. And we touched upon import and export licenses previously. How would a startup who may not have a dedicated team for this manage regulatory hurdles and prevent customs delays? Daria, could you suggest what you do here?
Thank you, Alex. And this is exactly where a subject matter expert with a real focus on import and export becomes invaluable. Clinical trial logistics aren't just about moving boxes, they are about orchestrating a series of interconnected events, each with its own challenges. Clients need to understand that a shipment cannot simply be dispatched without everything in place: the documentation, the financial and contractual arrangements, and the necessary regulatory approvals. And it doesn't stop there. An import-export specialist is also thinking several steps ahead. For example, how a product will be returned before it even leaves the warehouse. Imagine a rented medical devices. It has to go back to the supplier smoothly without customs obstacles. Or the remaining stock of investigational products that has to be shipped back to the sponsor at the end of the study without delay or risk of non-compliance. You can just ship a package and hope for the best. In clinical trials, every shipment represents patience, timelines, and trust. And it's the import-export specialist who makes sure all of those stay protected.
And what, in your experience, are the perfect planning requirements for goods coming into the country?
Perfect planning would consist of ensuring all regulatory approvals, customs documentation, and financial arrangements are secured well in advance, while aligning timelines with both clinical milestones and logistics partners. It's about anticipating challenges before they arise, so goods arrive seamlessly and without disruption. However, even with perfect planning, customs officers may hold up clinical shipments for inspection. Some countries require local agents, which adds complexity and cost. It's essential to anticipate risks and build in realistic lead times and contingency plans. In some cases, a cascading setup approach can be a good solution. Instead of waiting for a single lengthy import license to come through, a project management team can press on and start setting up in countries where import licenses aren't required, while waiting for approval in others. This strategy optimizes timelines, reduces stress, and keeps the project moving, which is particularly useful if you have limited funding and are facing tight deadlines.
Zaida, I wanted to talk about collaboration next. Collaboration and resource sharing are also vital elements of the clinical trial. Processes can often involve complex coordination across stakeholders. How can sponsors leverage collaboration and resource sharing to their advantage?
Good question, and it's a very important aspect as well. So collaboration, I believe, is the linchpin of a successful clinical trial, really understanding the needs of the client, but also getting expert advice from the subject matter experts who really understand where to go from the beginning right to the end of that particular project. For startup organizations in particular, you can't be an expert in everything. And that's why it is really important to leverage the contacts and expertise from individuals like Irina and like Daria, who specialized in key areas across project management and import-export, regulatory planning, finance, and also the whole logistics chain. A project manager, for example, can act as a central hub, aligning with all the stakeholders. We talk about sponsors, we talk about CROs, regulatory authorities, other logistics companies as well, and transportation companies, products coming into the depot, out of the depot, laboratories, internal teams, the external client teams as well, across different time zones and indeed cultures as well. So just putting that into a bubble, there's so many people that need to be involved. So this is where project management will become your key experts in making sure that everything is aligned. Just to also then state that at Oximio, all our partners are pre-qualified. So we do ensure that we're speaking on the same page from the very beginning. so we can dovetail all the project management and the activities in a very smooth fashion. It also ensures that strategic alignment is clear, the communication is clear, and your project can run smoothly from the initiation phase all the way up to project closure. All in all, it's making sure that your project runs as smoothly as possible. That is the main goal. And the main goal also to ensure that we talk about products, but the products are also being delivered to patients. And the core of that is in everything that we do. It has to be done it is a very regulatory environment, but also a very fulfilling environment, because you are actually delivering to the patient. And that's why everything has to be managed in a very clear and concise manner. Project management, it does, like I've indicated, control the end-to-end delivery of a project. So we have to make sure that all our boxes are ticked to ensure that we can guarantee the highest quality and the reliable data to our customers. The ultimate goal is also to provide evidence that we can help, and we're making an important part in healthcare, like I've said, for patients, but also the healthcare decisions. So a well-managed trial ensures that the results are also credible and can be used to drive even further medical advancements.
Okay, and so what about logistics and the movement of vital medicines or biological samples? Daria, perhaps you'd like to pick that up.
Yeah, this is something we deal with on a daily basis. Strict temperature ranges must be maintained for investigational drugs. Excursions or packaging failures can lead to product loss and compliance issues. Project management and logistic experts must know packaging specifications, routing timelines, and have emergency procedures ready. Added complexity might be the biohazard of shipments, which is one of the essential parts of the trial management, which is why it needs to be thoroughly planned, taking into consideration the multiple difference between those of regular shipment or product movement. And nowadays, another very important consideration of sustainability and waste management. Clients increasingly expect greener logistic practices, for example, reusable shippers and optimized routes. Managing this while meeting compliance and cost targets adds another layer of complexity. Forward-thinking experts are balancing operational efficiency and sustainability.
Yes, it's a high stakes operation with no room for error. Before we end today's discussion, can you each share what are the most important factors to you for how Oximio can help clients manage the complexities of clinical trials? Zaida, perhaps we could go to you first.
Thank you. And I think one of the key elements that we've discussed right at the beginning of this podcast was really the engagement. Early engagement is key, but also engaging with the right level of experts, the right experts that can actually drive your clinical trial forward. Here at Oximio, we have over 2 decades of experience, and we support clinical trials right across the globe with our clinical supply chain solutions and also tailor-made solutions from the beginning to also the completion of any project. So from start to finish, you can ensure that you have a single point of contact for your project, a smooth coordination across all aspects of the trial, and the team can manage everything from logistics, regulatory compliance, and budgeting. And even if there is something that can be quite complex, you can be ensured that they will actually find the solution in a very agile way, and also in a manner that will actually be a tailor-made solution for the specific need of your trial. And our goal is really to ensure that we take the stress from the clients by managing the complexities of the clinical trial for them, because at the end of the day, these clinical trials can be very complex, crossing very many different countries, and we will do our best to make sure that we can actually take that stress away from them and manage that on their behalf.
Okay, great. Arina, would you like to go next?
Absolutely true, Zaida. And as well as for me, it really comes down to the prioritization. Without tiered team structure like we have in Oximio, so-called OxyPilot, we make sure that our most experienced experts and specialists are focused on complex and high impact planning, while coordinators and associates handle technical execution, helping to reduce cost without sacrificing quality. And this is where strategic project management approach becomes essential. It's not just about moving packages from A to B. It's about anticipating every possible scenario and building a flexible plan that keeps the trial on track. That's why our customers return time and time again. To you, Daria.
As for me, it all comes down to clear planning and communication, knowing exactly what needs to move, when, where, and how. And just as importantly, we plan to the returns at the end of the trial. Every step from shipment to return must be complaint coordinated and aligned with the clinical timeline.
That's it. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much to my guests and thank you for listening. For more Oximio content, please keep an eye on the Oximio website or global data channels such as pharmaceuticaltechnology.com.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you.